Hi, Dad.
Oh,
So I was just wondering, so what happened, or how old are you, and what happened?
so when I was 4.5, I contracted spinal meningitis. Of course, at that
Mm-hmm.
age, that time, I didn't know what those words meant,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the start of it. And my first memories of life were waking up on a couch asking for a glass of water, and apparently that was meant that I was coming out of my stages of unconsciousness and the effects, and it was a good sign that I was asking for water, which my grandmother, who was a nurse, um, happily gave me a glass of water, and that was the start of
Hmm.
my recovery.
Very good. And you said that you weren't able to speak at the time, like for a few weeks.
Yeah, that's a good guesstimate that I could remember having some consciousness but not being able to speak, and my throat was dry, but I just couldn't. Uh, yeah, the fever was too hard.
Oh, wow. Okay. So do you remember how you contracted it?
No, I don't, being that young, but I also think all the conditions were, in my case, where it was we always went out and played in the snow. So it was a
Yeah.
four-season place, and there was always a lot of family running through the houses. It was common. It was a big family.
Yeah.
Um, so those, I just assumed I caught it in that normal way.
Okay. So my next question is, how did your hearing loss affect you as a child?
So the hearing loss itself, I felt that since, especially because of that ages 4, 5, 6, 7, when so much else is going on in a child's life as they're developing, that it didn't affect me so much as I learned to adapt. I learned to
Yeah.
shift my head a little bit if I couldn't hear it. I was getting aware that yeah, it was a slow. They didn't tell me. They didn't sit me down at 4.5 and says, "Well, you can't hear it." I mean, that would not have been much to me. But
Yeah.
as I was now going in school, first, second, third, fourth grade, consciously I was learning to adapt to just turning my head. And I did not, of course, want to tell anybody because of the other shyness. So I just more was adapting to it than more than expressing, "Hey, can you turn your head?" I didn't want to ask people to speak to this side. I wanted to do it naturally so they wouldn't know.
Um, and then what about like psychologically?
Yeah, psychologically, I felt that as because a child that age is feeling so many other things. Like later on, I had glasses, which I felt was more traumatic to have to wear glasses. I could
Yeah.
mask the hearing. Um, so I think more in the sense that uh, I just was learning to adapt more than I was learning to because if you looked at me, you wouldn't tell. And so, of course, as you're the kid that age, you just want to fit in and
Yeah.
not say not let them know that you're going like this and things like that. Of course, children would find out quickly, but
Okay. So my next question is, how did your hearing loss affect you as an adult?
very much in the sense that, of course, by then I lived with it all my life, and even in the military, that I was determined. Of course, I was in a career path like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I realized that when I would, in my career path, I'd have to be more in social situations because I was very shy. I'd always really avoided social situations. My habits were really reading a book by myself, and that's where I was most happiest.
Yeah.
But I realized now there had to be these dinners and things like that. Oh, how am I going to handle the hearing? And I always strategically placed myself at a certain part of the table where I would be able to hear, and meetings, of course, these board meetings at work, where I would have the best chance of hearing, let's say, the most important person in the room. So that was more of a coping strategy where I
Oh,
would
okay.
do that. So yeah, very interesting as you because you advance in things in life that you can't mask it, you're not going to announce it. It's more I can't hear, by the way. So uh, you know uh, that was very interesting of how to adjust. And every once in a while, of course, I was more open and more honest that with people that I can't hear. Can you say that again? That was not uncommon, but of course, my confidence grew as an adult. But it was certainly
Good.
an interesting adaptation as my career involves being so social, and
Yeah.
now you really have to have some coping strategies.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay. My last question is, what advice do you have for other children and their caregivers who have received this diagnosis?
Yeah, let's just realize that it's not your fault. And also to the parents, just show respect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the main problem with a child that age. The younger you are, the more you care about what other kids think, of course. So
Yeah.
that's where you say you're okay. It's okay not to tell people. It's okay to tell people. Just it's part of you. You're going to be fine. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, now today there's technologies um, that would minimize the effect if you did choose to get a hearing aid.
Yeah, very true. And I also know you mentioned that, like, to ensure that they were rushed to the hospital as soon as they can, because that's what saved your life, right?
Yes, I think when in that time you really the what all parents could do is just stick a thermometer in their mouth. Oh, he's got a high fever, and at
Yeah.
that point you take him to the doctor. So that was very very normal. Probably is pretty normal today.
Yeah.
So rushing to the hospital was more going to the doctor, and the doctor would have the knowledge. Okay, he needs to go to the hospital.
Yeah, very true. Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.